Believe it or not, training child actors is a little controversial. Why? Because 9 times out of 10, casting and production just want your kid to be a kid on set. And having too much training or the wrong training can make a child look fake or inauthentic, the exact opposite of what they're trying to convey in their project. In fact, most auditions for child actors will say, just want them to be themselves. Some will even go further to say, please don't have your child coached for this audition. We want authenticity. But others argue, I would never send my child into a baseball or softball game if they've never played before, so why would I send them into an audition with no preparation? They see it as setting them up to fail. Additionally, there's a valid argument that once a child books a job, they should have a decent understanding of what's expected of them on set. And as you just experienced from the previous lesson, there's an awful lot to learn even before you start booking work. I lie somewhere in the middle on this topic. I think training is essential, but it has to be the right kind of training. Anything that drives a child away from their authentic selves is a hard no for me. I'm a firm believer in finding out what personality traits a child innately has and using those to create real, authentic, grounded auditions. Because those are the auditions that book.
I don't want to do it anymore. It's boring. I want to do the same homework that all my friends do.
Davina, to become a harvest girl.
I don't want to do it anymore.
Because casting wants authenticity. And if you allow your child to be themselves under imaginary circumstances, you're following Meisner's definition of acting and creating a powerful actor and human, in my opinion. Let's dive deeper into this. If you're allowing your child to be themselves while learning and delivering lines from a script, you're empowering them to know that everything they were born with is enough. They don't need to pretend to be anyone or anything they're not. Additionally, it gives them the confidence to be themselves in the real world. And this is near and dear to my heart because oftentimes our young creatives can fall victim to bullying. And by teaching them that their personality traits are what make them unique and special, creates a strong sense of self-worth and deters bullies from having an impact on them. Much more on this when we dive into the lesson on creating authenticity. So regardless of where you lie with the topic, let's first look at what is training. Well, training for an actor can include acting techniques, methods, and skills. And most classes are broken down into individual study areas such as improvisation, improv, acting for television, film, and commercial. Yes, these are all 3 different types of acting. Audition techniques, voiceover, script analysis, speech, movement, and even stage combat. This is one of the reasons I developed this course because there's so much actual training an actor can do to improve their craft. You don't have time to learn the basics, and it can often feel so overwhelming, resulting in you or your child wanting to quit. But if you just focus on the training, it's actually a lot of fun. So you might be thinking, how does my child train for acting? And this is a valid question because many people feel like if they don't have a script or an audition right in front of them, there's no way to practice their craft. Quite the contrary. There are a myriad of things you and your child can do to properly train as an actor. The first is practicing memorization. It's no secret that memorizing lines is a big part of the job, and there's a lot of different methods for memorization. Getting your child's memorization muscle strong is a powerful tool that will help them immensely. And the best way to do this is to find the right technique that works for your child. I like to find out what type of learner my child or acting student is before helping them with memorization. Most of us fall into one of 3 types of learners: auditory, visual, or tactile, learning by doing. To determine which one your child falls under, simply Google what type of learner is my child, and you will get a slew of results. You can also find a quiz here at homeschoolon.com. Now, here are some visual learner techniques. The first is the repetition technique. This is just continued reading of the script that helps visual learners. Once your child has read the script 3 to 5 times, have them cover their dialogue, the words for their character that they're supposed to learn, and see if they remember them. It's okay if they don't because they're still learning, but each time should get better and better. The waterfall technique. This is a personal favorite of mine that was taught to me by my amazing acting coach, Vince Pisani. Have your child read the script 2 to 3 times, then have them close their eyes and imagine their surroundings pertaining to the scene. Make them get specific with the scenery, weather, what are they wearing, who are they talking to, what time of day is it. Next, have them open their eyes and read the script aloud. Finally, have them close their eyes and read the script aloud again, remembering as much of the dialogue as they can. It's okay if they only remember one or two words the first time, but the point is to have them visualize the scene so they can picture what is happening to help them solidify the words on the page. Just have them repeat this process until they know all of their lines. The picture technique. This technique is great if your child is having a rough time remembering the lines or has a chunk of dialogue they're having a hard time retaining. Simply have them draw a picture of what they're talking about to the side of their lines they're trying to memorize. If they were talking about a dog that they saw running down the street after school, have them draw a dog, a street, and a schoolhouse next to the appropriate lines. This gives them a visual clue, just like a picture book, to help memorize their lines. Next, let's talk about the audible learner techniques. First is running lines. Running lines with another actor is one of the most well-known methods for memorizing lines. Have your child hold their script and read back and forth with them until they have their lines memorized. Record and listen. Have your child record their lines into your phone or iPad, or you can record their lines for them and have them play it back as many times as it takes for them to hear and memorize their lines. Play the quiz game. Say your child's line and then ask them to write it down. Then have them say it without looking at the paper. Once that line is learned, move on to the next. And finally, the tactile learner techniques. Act out the scene. Have your child act out the scene with their imagination. If they're supposed to be in a schoolyard playing, allow them to explore and play while reacting to their lines. This physicality really helps them get the energy of the scene, and they're more apt to remember their lines. The movement technique. Actually doing something with their hands, like playing with toys or helping you bake while reciting lines, will help them not focus on the actual words and will ultimately get the script into their long-term memory. The writing technique. This technique also works for the visual learner, as well as the tactile learner. Have your child rewrite their lines by hand. This method works well for longer scenes as it forces the mind to connect to the action of writing the lines down and seeing them. Just make sure you only have them write their lines and not the other actor's dialogue. And here's a tip. Make sure your child is well rested before asking them to memorize lines, and take a break when they're tired. An article published by the Chicago Tribune suggests that research shows that resting allows information that was just processed to go from short-term memory to long-term recall, making it easier to remember. Next, let's talk about imagination. In addition to memorization, imagination is a must for actors, especially child actors. The more your child can dream and visualize, the better they're going to be able to act. Why? Because children have limited life experience, so they can't call on real memories or emotions if they haven't experienced them yet. Which is why reading is so vitally important to a young actor, because reading builds imagination. Reading calls on our mind to create pictures from the words we're reading on the page. Imagine for a moment that you're in a bustling coffee shop on a sunny but brisk autumn day. Smell the coffee. Feel the warmth of the sun coming through the windows. Hear the bustling and chattering patrons during the lunch hour rush. The barista is calling out your name when your drink is ready. Taste the first sip. If this were a script and not a book, we've allowed our senses to engage, which ultimately means our body is experiencing the scene, and we're not just saying the words on the script. This makes for a better actor. Additionally, self-tapes and auditions are done in rooms with four walls, a camera, and a reader, not on a set where it's easier to get into character because you have all of those surroundings pulling on your senses. You'll literally be able to smell the coffee on set in the scene I described above, but in the audition room, you have to create it in your mind. So being able to imagine that scenery and touch and smell and feel what it's like will put your child head and shoulders above the rest. Before each audition, make sure your child knows where they're supposed to be in the script. Are they at a school, an airport, church, their bedroom, the playground? Each of these scenarios will call for a different energy from the actor because you don't act the same at church as you do on the playground. So explain that to your child so they understand the feeling. Then allow them to use their imagination of what the playground looks like. Is there a slide? Swings? Are there a lot of people there? What time of day is it? Is it hot or cold? What are they wearing? All these details will help them get into the character 10 times more than if you skip this technique. And the really cool part is it becomes second nature after a while. When I read a script now, I can immediately put myself in that environment. I see the other characters and activate all of my senses so that I can visualize what this scene will likely look like when it's filmed on set. Finally, make sure they know how they feel about the other person in the script, the reader. Does their character like them? How long have they known each other? Are they the same age? These questions will help fill in the blanks with scripts and add nuances that may get overlooked if you don't dive deep into this. For instance, your child speaks to an adult a lot different than they speak to their best friend. Additionally, their eye line would be a little bit higher if they're talking to an adult to make the audition look more authentic. More on eye lines when we get into the self-taping guide. Finally, let's talk about authenticity. The final step with training is authenticity. And this is not just a buzzword. It is the foundation of great acting. If you've ever watched a show and you didn't really relate to a character or felt their performance didn't resonate with you, chances are they were being inauthentic on camera. As humans, we innately know when someone is not being genuine, and that makes our guard go up. Conversely, when someone is being truthful and living their truth, especially on camera, we're drawn to them. This is the type of acting that wins Academy Awards. And this is the type of actor I want your child to become, even if they aren't striving for an Oscar, because it still allows them to be secure in who they are as a human, which leads to a happier life. So as we wrap up this training lesson, there are a number of ways that you can train with your child, and YouTube is a great place to start. Always take advantage of free resources when you can, because acting can get expensive. Just make sure you're vetting the content and seeing if it's a good match for your child. What works for your child may not work for mine. And remember, I have 2 acting daughters, and their learning styles are completely different. So I have to adjust for that. And always keep in mind that they're different humans, and their journey will continue to reflect that difference. One is never better than the other. They're just uniquely different. So be certain the training for your child is as authentically unique as they are. And here's a tip. If your child is reading a line and they don't understand what it means, I can guarantee you the casting director will notice, and it will be a moment of inauthentic acting. Make sure your child understands everything they're saying and why, so they can properly connect to the script. To finish this lesson, I present you with another gift. Attached to this lesson is a list of top child acting coaches across the US. Again, this is not a comprehensive list, nor an endorsement of any of these coaches. This is simply a list of some of the top acting coaches that offer private lessons or group classes. Many of the children that they have worked with within the past have booked for Disney, Nickelodeon, network shows, feature films, or have top representation and are on their way to booking. Remember, each child is different and is going to respond differently to different coaching techniques. So make sure you ask questions prior to booking any of these coaches so that you get to know exactly how they work with the child. There were top coaches that were recommended to me for my children, and once I found out their technique, I knew it wasn't a fit for my child and actually felt that it could confuse their process. So be persnickety. Finding the right coach is like finding the right agent. Make sure you choose wisely so your child looks forward to these lessons and progresses in their talent. Additionally, these coaches aren't cheap. So you want to make sure that your pairing is a match for both the child and the coach, because finding the right match is golden and could create a myriad of opportunities and bookings for your child.